Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video, so I haven't in a while. I've got a whole list of videos that I want to cover, topics that people have asked me about, and things that I've thought of to do. And this just happened to be the one that I ran across first. So if it feels like this is directed at anybody in particular, it's not. It's just something that I had written on a list like probably a year or more ago, and I just now getting around to doing it. So what I wanted to talk about was, should you compete in bodybuilding? Should you go through a contest prep? Um, or should you maybe focus on going through a building phase, or should you just not bodybuild at all? So, some of the things that I came up with, I'll start with some times that you probably shouldn't compete. So, if you look at competitors and you look at your friends or whoever's competing and you think, oh, that looks like it'd be fun. I'd love to look like that kind of thing. That may not be enough. So if you're competing because you want to get lean, right, and you want to look like a competitor without actually competing, don't compete. So if you want to get lean to compete, then that's fine. But if you're trying to just need a reason to diet and get lean, that's not a very good one, because the things that competing can do to you, to get to those extreme levels can be sometimes irreversible, and sometimes they can, take a big enough toll that it's just not worth it. And one day I'll talk about some of that stuff, in more depth. So if your goal is to get lean, do that without a show. Maybe schedule a photo shoot, or maybe plan to go to an event, to where you want to look a certain way or that kind of thing. But don't do something that's as extreme as competing just because you want to get a little bit leaner, right? Because you can get lean without suffering and going through, some of the pitfalls of competing. So another reason not to compete is to stay lean. If you get lean for an event, or if you get lean for a show, and then you say, oh well, I don't want to put on body fat, or I don't want to get fatter. Doing another show is not the solution to that. If that's your mindset, you need to probably talk to somebody who's credentialed in therapy for eating disorders, because that's not a good place to be, because competing and getting to that body fat's a very unhealthy place, and it's not something you should stay at for very long at all. So if you're competing because you're lean and you want to stay that way, that's the wrong mindset too. You're going to end up with some pretty bad habits and a bad relationship with food and with your body. So if you are doing it to stay lean because you got lean for one reason or another, that's a bad idea. Another thing, and this is kind of partly why a lot of us get into weightlifting and exercise and nutrition habits and that sort of thing altogether, don't do it to get the opposite sex. Don't compete because you want to meet girls or meet guys, or get a significant other or partner out of that type of thing. If you want somebody that's in this world or realm, go to shows, get involved, but don't compete. Now, well, yeah, just don't. If you're trying to get someone of the opposite sex, don't compete to do that. Find other ways to be around those people, and meet those people and network and connect, and then eventually that might work out for you. But don't go through a contest prep just because you want to impress someone of the opposite sex, or the same sex, whatever, and then to try to get in a relationship with someone. That's not going to work, because typically when you're going through a contest prep, you're not a lot of fun to be around, or a lot of people aren't. Your time is limited, and your personality is going to change a little bit, and that sort of thing. So there's just a lot of reasons why you're not your best, in a social environment or relationship when you're, getting ready for a bodybuilding show. So don't do it to get females. If you want to work out and get a bunch of muscles and you think it's going to get you attention from the opposite sex, then that's fine. That's not how that works. You're just going to have a lot of people asking you how much you bench. But if you want to do it, if you want to exercise and get healthy and eat nutritious foods and treat your body right because you think it's going to get you a partner, that's a different story. And so that's probably not a bad idea. Again, it doesn't exactly work that way, but kind of. So, don't compete to meet someone of the opposite sex. It's not, that probably won't go well. Don't compete because your friends are. If you have someone that or even if it is your significant other, don't jump into a contest prep just because they are, and it's like, oh, it'd be fun to compete together, because it won't. I promise. You'll end up possibly losing a friendship or losing a relationship because you're both in a little bit of a different place mentally than you were when you went into this, and if you're doing it for someone else, you're probably not going to stick with it or do your best anyway, so it's not worth it. So the dogs had a freak out, so I kind of lost my place. But I think what I was saying is, don't compete because your friends are. Maybe support them and give them encouragement and work out with them and that kind of thing. But don't go through a bodybuilding prep just because your friends are. That will not, or your significant other, because that will not go well. So offer support, but you don't have to go through the same things. It's probably not a good idea. So another reason kind of goes back to, to the reason if you want to get lean to do a show, just because you like the way someone that competes looks doesn't mean that if you prep, you will look like that person. It is almost certain that you will not. So if you have a favorite, influencer on Instagram / competitor or whatever, it's not a good idea to go through a prep just because you want to look like that person. One, you probably won't, because your structure is probably a little different, genetics and everything else. They're probably more advanced in training age than you, so don't go through a prep just to look like somebody else, whether they're a competitor or not. And then, maybe don't go through a prep because you are bored with training or you don't like training. Chewy agrees with me. So if you, need a reason to get excited about the gym, competing is probably not it, because it will make you hate the gym even more if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So don't go through a prep just because you want a reason to like the gym again. Maybe find a different way to work out, go to a different gym, find a good training partner, that sort of thing. Don't you agree, Chewy? Chewy agrees. Okay, now he's going to go hang out with his brother. So there's a lot of reasons you shouldn't compete. I named a few. Now, why should you compete? One is that you want to be a competitive bodybuilder. You like the idea of living the lifestyle of someone who is constantly focused on changing their physique, and you like the idea of your physique changing, and you want to push yourself to make that happen. And then you want to display that on stage for a panel of judges who will hurt your feelings or tell you, that you are the best one up there that day. So it has to be about changing your body and loving that process, right? And then ultimately getting, on stage and getting critiqued on the work that you did, right? So I'll do a whole other video on this, but your physique and your body are two different things, okay? And you have to look at it this way to be successful and to not drive yourself insane, right? So if you do a show and you get judged on it, they're judging your physique, they're judging the package that you brought, which I used to hate that term, but I think it's actually really good now if you can look at it that way. So they're judging what you bring to the stage, over the time that you've spent to perfect that or to work on it. They're not judging your body. They're not judging you as a person. It has nothing to do with who you are, your value. It's literally just what you bring and put on that stage that day against the other people that are also up there. That's all they're judging. So you have to love the idea of that, or at least be able to tolerate the idea of that, because you love the process of getting there, which is, a lot of why people do it. The other reason, or kind of wrapped up in that, is that you like pushing yourself to new limits. You like seeing yourself change, and you also like, being very regimented and sticking to something, and then being rewarded with, results daily, whether that's intrinsically or extrinsically. So, if you feel good about the fact that you checked off all your boxes one day and laid your head down at night and know you did everything to be your best come show day, then competing might be a good option for you, because there are tons of things that you have to constantly get right every single day to be successful in the sport. Something else, it's hit or miss with this one, but if you're going through something personal, whether that's a breakup, whether that's a job loss, anything else that might be, adversity, and you understand what competing does to you and how it feels and what you have to go through and what you have to commit to it and put into it, and you want something to focus on and to distract you, and maybe that's part of what you're going to do anyway, and you decide that, because of X, Y, or Z in my life, I want to focus on a competition prep, then that might not be a bad idea either, as long as you understand that it's not going to make your problems go away, but it will distract you from them, and it has to be something that you understand already versus just jumping into it because somebody broke up with you or whatever like that. So that's a little bit tricky, but it could be a good reason, in my opinion, to get into a contest prep. So it's very competing is very tricky. You go through a lot, you sacrifice a lot. For the ones of us who love it and want to do it, it's worth it. For the ones who who don't love it, then it's not worth it. And I would encourage you to reconsider doing it, because it's not for everybody. So if anybody has any questions, comments, or anything, feel free to put them below. Thanks for sticking with this one. It's just kind of something like I said, I had on my list and I wanted to talk about, and hopefully it'll help you, to decide whether it's the right fit for you. And if you have any questions about, my experiences or my opinions on some of my athletes' experiences or what maybe you should do or how you should approach things, and feel free to comment below or message me or message me on Instagram, team_chiseled. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.